First contact and posturing. The Nexus station rotated silently against the backdrop of the Andromeda Nebula, its massive ring structure gleaming in the light of 3 distant suns. Built as neutral territory by the combined efforts of the 5 dominant species in the known galaxy, it served as the meeting place for the Galactic Concord, a diplomatic summit held once every 50 Earth years. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the viewport of the United Earth ship Defiant, a small diplomatic vessel that had been granted permission to approach the station. Her reflection stared back at her from the transparent aluminum. Dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun, the silver and blue uniform of the United Earth Defense Force, still crisp despite the 3-week journey from Sol. The invitation to attend the Concord had arrived unexpectedly just 1 month ago. Earth, considered a backwater civilization that had achieved faster-than-light travel only 30 years prior, had never been invited before. "Captain, we're receiving docking instructions," Lieutenant Park announced from the communications station. "They've assigned us to Bay 9. It's rather small." Reyes nodded, unsurprised. "They're not expecting much from us, Lieutenant. That works in our favor." The Defense Council's orders were explicit. Commander Rivera, her executive officer, said quietly beside her, "Observe. Learn. Don't reveal anything unnecessary." "I know my orders, Commander." Reyes turned from the viewport. "And I know when to follow them. Let's not keep our hosts waiting." The Defiant glided into the assigned docking bay, dwarfed by the massive alien vessels occupying the larger berths. As the airlock cycled, Reyes straightened her uniform and steeled herself. First impressions mattered, especially when representing humanity's first official appearance at the galaxy's most prestigious diplomatic gathering. The station interior was a marvel of engineering. Vast open spaces with impossibly high ceilings, materials that seemed to shift and change with the light, and gravity that felt perfectly calibrated despite the station's rotation. A blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms approached her delegation. "Captain Reyes of Earth," the alien spoke through a translator embedded in what appeared to be ceremonial jewelry. "I am Coordinator Zell. The 5 Primarchs await in the Grand Assembly. Please follow me." Reyes and her small delegation, Commander Rivera and 2 diplomatic specialists, followed Zell through corridors that buzzed with activity. Aliens of dozens of species moved purposefully about their business, occasionally casting curious glances at the humans. "They look at us like we're children who wandered into an adult gathering," whispered Lieutenant Commander Chen, one of the diplomatic specialists. "Then let them underestimate us," Reyes replied softly. The Grand Assembly lived up to its name. A massive circular chamber with a domed ceiling that displayed a perfect real-time view of surrounding space. At the center stood a round table with 6 chairs, 5 occupied by representatives of the galaxy's dominant powers. Coordinator Zell announced her, Captain Alina Reyes, representing the United Earth government. 5 pairs of alien eyes turned to assess her. Reyes met each gaze steadily. "The human arrives at last," rumbled a massive being with gray-green skin and a head that seemed too small for its broad-shouldered frame. "I am Supreme Commander Draz of the Krith Imperium. We control 3 spiral arms and possess a fleet of 10,000 warships." Reyes inclined her head slightly. "Supreme Commander, High Admiral Selazin of the Nevari Concordance," announced a slender reptilian being with iridescent scales and vertical pupils. "Our territories span the Cygnus sector and beyond." A being composed of what appeared to be crystalline structures that caught and refracted light said, "I am HFY Sci-Fi of the Luminous Collective. We were traveling the stars when your kind still dwelled in caves." The 4th alien was almost humanoid, except for the 6 eyes arranged symmetrically across its face and the tentacles that emerged from behind its head like hair. First voice Alar of the Morrigan Harmony. "We have observed your species from afar for centuries." The final representative appeared to be a cloud of smoke or gas contained within a transparent environment suit. It pulsed with bioluminescence as it spoke. "Overseer Nix of the Voth Consciousness. It is unexpected to find Earth represented here." Reyes took the empty seat. Thank you for extending the invitation to Earth. We are honored to join the Galactic Concord. Draz made a sound that might have been a laugh. Honor had little to do with it. Human, your system occupies a strategic position near 3 unstable wormholes. It was deemed prudent to include you. How fortunate for us, then, Rice said with a diplomatic smile. The formal proceedings begin tomorrow, Sullivan said, her tongue flicking out briefly. Today is traditionally reserved for becoming acquainted. Xylithi's crystalline form shifted slightly. Yes, it is customary to demonstrate our respective strengths before negotiations begin, a tradition that prevents misunderstandings. The observation deck provides an excellent view. First Voice Ayler suggested, perhaps the human would appreciate seeing what real interstellar naval power looks like. Rice caught the veiled insult, but maintained her composure. I would welcome the opportunity. The group moved to a vast observation deck that offered an unobstructed view of the space surrounding the Nexus station. Here, each of the 5 powers had positioned their flagship, a display of strength that was both tradition and thinly veiled intimidation. Behold the Indomitable, Draz announced proudly, gesturing toward a massive vessel that eclipsed all others in size. The Krith warship resembled a mountain in space, angular, imposing, with weapons emplacements visible across its hull like jagged outcroppings. 7 kilometers from bow to stern, its main cannon can shatter a small moon. 200 secondary weapon systems ensure nothing survives within range. Rice studied the behemoth with professional interest. Impressive firepower. Brute force is one approach, Sullivan said with what might have been a smirk. She gestured to what appeared to be empty space. The Phantom Talon is currently operating at full stealth capability. As if responding to her words, a sleek vessel shimmered into visibility. Where the Krith ship was bulky and imposing, the Naveri vessel was elegant and predatory, reminding Rice of ancient Earth's depictions of dragons. Our phase shift technology allows us to operate completely undetected by any known sensor technology, Sullivan continued. We strike without warning and disappear before our enemies realize what happened. Xylithi stepped forward, crystalline body catching the light. Technological solutions are predictable. The luminous collective has evolved beyond such limitations. Outside the viewport, a massive structure that resembled a geometric spiderweb made of light began to glow brighter. At its center was what appeared to be a small sun. The celestial prism is not a ship in your understanding of the term, Xylithi explained. It is a semi-sentient construct that manipulates the fundamental forces of the universe. It does not fire weapons. It simply alters reality within its sphere of influence. First Voice Ayler gestured toward a biological-looking vessel that resembled a massive jellyfish in space, pulsating with bioluminescent light. The synaptic tide represents the pinnacle of organic technology. Grown rather than built, it shares a partial consciousness with its crew. It can heal itself in battle and adapt to enemy tactics in real time. Finally, Overseer Nex's containment suit pulsed with light as it directed Rice's attention to what appeared to be a cloud of metallic dust that moved with unnatural coordination. The collective will is composed of 10 million autonomous micro-units, Nix explained. Each individual unit is insignificant, but together they form an unstoppable force that can disperse to avoid damage and reconcentrate for attacks. There is no single point of failure. After the 5 had completed their demonstrations, they turned to Rice expectantly. And where is Earth's great warship, Captain? Draz asked with barely concealed mockery. Surely you brought something to impress us. Rice smiled politely. The UES Defiant is a diplomatic vessel. Supreme Commander, Earth doesn't believe in gunboat diplomacy. This elicited what could only be described as laughter from several of the aliens. How very principled, Sullivan remarked, her vertical pupils contracting. Or perhaps you simply have nothing worth showing. I'm here to learn from more experienced spacefaring civilizations, Rice replied evenly. Earth is still new to the galactic community. At least the human knows its place. Draz rumbled to the others. Perhaps this summit will be more productive than anticipated. Before Reyes could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the station. The massive viewports automatically polarized as a blinding flash erupted from the direction of the nearest star. "What's happening?" Reyes demanded, her diplomatic demeanor instantly replaced by a commander's authority. A station officer rushed into the observation deck. "Primarchs, we've detected a massive solar flare directed toward the station. The star has become unstable. Our scientists report unprecedented neutrino patterns. The station's shields cannot withstand a direct hit from a stellar event of that magnitude." Sci-Fi stated, crystalline structure pulsing with agitation. "Evacuate to our vessels," Draz ordered. "The indomitable shields can withstand the radiation." As the group hurried toward the evacuation points, another officer intercepted them. "Primarchs, we're receiving a distress signal from the sanctuary colony on the third planet. Their shields are failing, and they have over 10,000 civilians with no evacuation options." The 5 alien leaders exchanged looks. "The colony is not our responsibility," Draz stated flatly. "The solar flare will reach them before it reaches us," First Voice Elar observed. "There is time to assist them and still evacuate ourselves." "My vessel cannot transport that many," Sullivan said. "Nor can mine," added Nyx. Captain Reyes stepped forward. "How long until the flare reaches the colony?" 22 minutes, the officer replied. Reyes activated her communicator. "Lieutenant Park, this is the captain. Emergency Protocol Omega. Authorization Reyes Alpha 7 Tango." "Captain." Commander Rivera looked at her questioningly. Reyes turned to the 5 alien leaders, her expression resolute. "It seems Earth will be providing a demonstration of our capabilities after all." The revelation. The alien leaders stared at Captain Reyes with expressions ranging from confusion to condescension. "What exactly do you think your tiny vessel can accomplish, human?" Supreme Commander Draz rumbled, already turning away to coordinate his own evacuation. Reyes ignored him, continuing to issue orders through her communicator. "Park, transmit coordinates for the sanctuary colony to the Aegis. Tell Admiral Chen we need immediate deployment. Full complement." "Acknowledged, Captain," came the crisp reply. Aegis responding. ETA 4 minutes. High Admiral Sullivan's vertical pupils narrowed. "Aegis, you have another vessel in this system. Let us proceed to our ships." First Voice Elar interrupted. "Whatever the human has planned is irrelevant to our safety." The station shuddered as the first waves of solar radiation began impacting its outer shields. Warning lights flashed throughout the corridors as they hurried toward the docking bays. "The flare is accelerating," a station officer reported, panic evident in their voice. "Revised impact with sanctuary colony in 15 minutes. The Indomitable cannot reach the colony and return in time," Draz stated flatly. "Nor can any of our vessels," Sci-Fi added. "The radiation levels would penetrate even our advanced shielding at such proximity to the event." They reached the central hub that branched off to the various docking bays. Through the massive viewports, they could see the star in the distance, its surface roiling with unprecedented activity, solar prominences extending outward like fiery tentacles reaching for the surrounding planets. "Your ship is this way, Captain," the station officer gestured toward Bay 9. "My ship is fine where it is," Reyes replied, her gaze fixed on the viewport. "We're waiting." "Waiting for what?" Overseer Nex's containment suit pulsed with irritation. "For the flare to kill us all." 3 minutes, Reyes said, checking her chronometer. Draz stepped forward, towering over the human. "This is no time for games, Captain. Whatever you're planning." "There." Commander Rivera pointed toward what had appeared to be empty space near the edge of the system. At first, it was barely visible, a shimmer against the stars, like heat rising from a summer road. Then the distortion grew, space itself seeming to fold and ripple. A massive shape began to materialize, as if emerging from another dimension entirely. "By the Ancient Ones," First Voice Elar whispered, all 6 eyes widening. The ship that appeared dwarfed even the Krith Indomitable. Its sleek, angular design spoke of lethal efficiency, but it was the sheer scale that left the alien leaders momentarily speechless. 4 kilometers from bow to stern, with a hull that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, it moved with impossible grace for something its size. The UES Aegis, Rise announced with quiet pride. Earth's first supercarrier. Impossible. Silithi's crystalline structure flickered rapidly. Our sensors detected no such vessel in the system. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, Rise replied. Or rather, what they didn't detect. On the viewport display, the massive human vessel accelerated toward the endangered colony, moving far faster than something of its size should be capable of. As it approached the planet, sections of its hull began to reconfigure, massive panels shifting to reveal what appeared to be enormous mirror-like surfaces. What is it doing? Selazin demanded, professional curiosity overcoming her earlier dismissiveness. Creating a shield, Rise explained, not of energy, but of reflected particles. The Aegis positioned itself between the colony and the approaching solar flare, its reconfigured surfaces now forming a concave shield nearly 20 kilometers wide. As the leading edge of the flare reached them, the mirror-like panels captured and redirected the solar particles, creating a stunning visual display as deadly radiation was channeled safely away from the populated planet. The colony's readings are stabilizing, a station officer reported with amazement. The human vessel is. It's actually deflecting the solar flare. Impossible, Draz repeated, but there was newfound respect in his voice. No shield technology could withstand that level of direct solar radiation. That's because we're not using shields, Rise explained. At least not conventional energy shields. The Aegis is using gravitational lensing combined with particle reflection. We don't try to absorb or block the energy. We redirect it. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the massive human vessel held its position, protecting the colony as the solar flare washed over it. Occasional arcs of energy danced across its hull, but the ship remained steady. Colony is secure, the station officer announced. The Aegis is deploying something. From the belly of the supercarrier, smaller craft emerge, dozens of them, descending toward the colony. Ground teams with portable shield generators, Commander Rivera explained. They'll reinforce the colony's failing shields while repairs are made. Your vessel carries ground forces as well, Selazin asked, incredulous. The Aegis carries everything, Rice said. Fighter squadrons, ground assault teams, humanitarian aid workers, scientific research facilities. It's designed to be self-sufficient for years if necessary. The station's emergency system chimed again. Attention all personnel. The solar flare trajectory has been recalculated. The Nexus station is no longer in the direct path. Repeat, the station is safe. Stand down from evacuation protocols. Overseer Nex's containment suit pulsed with colors that suggested confusion. The flare changed course. That's not possible. It didn't change course. Rice smiled slightly. The Aegis has a sister ship. As if on cue, another massive vessel materialized on the far side of the star. This one was visibly different, less militaristic in design, with vast arrays of what appeared to be scientific equipment extending from its hull. The UES Athena, Rice explained. Our premier research vessel. It's been studying your star for the past 3 months. When they detected the instability, they deployed solar stabilizers to redirect the worst of the flare away from populated areas. You've had 2 capital ships in our system for months. Draz's voice was a mixture of outrage and grudging respect. How did we not detect them? The same way you didn't detect our advancements on Earth, Rice replied. You saw what you expected to see, a primitive species just learning to crawl into space. Your surveys found what they were looking for, a planet still struggling with internal conflicts, pollution, and limited spaceflight capability. Those issues are real on your world, First Voice Ailer stated. Our intelligence is thorough. They are real, Rise acknowledged. Earth isn't perfect. We still have our struggles. But what your intelligence missed was how those struggles shaped us. She gestured to the viewport where the Aegis continued its protective position above the colony. 50 years ago, Earth was on the brink of self-destruction. Climate disasters, resource wars, political division. We nearly ended our civilization. But we pulled back from that edge. We unified, not because we suddenly all agreed with each other, but because we learned something crucial about survival. And what was that? Sci-Fi asked, crystalline form shifting in patterns that suggested genuine curiosity. Adaptability, Rise answered. When you've spent thousands of years fighting each other, you get very good at understanding how to counter different threats. When you've nearly destroyed your own planet, you become experts at environmental engineering. When you've developed thousands of different cultures and languages, you excel at seeing problems from multiple perspectives. The view screen showed the Aegis beginning to deploy what appeared to be massive solar collectors, absorbing excess energy from the flare rather than merely deflecting it. They're harvesting the energy, Selazin observed, her professional interest clearly piqued. Nothing goes to waste, Rise confirmed. Another lesson from our near extinction. Thraz crossed his massive arms. If you possess such advanced technology, why the deception? Why appear in a small diplomatic vessel and hide your true capabilities? Would you have spoken so freely about your own capabilities if you'd known what we could do? Rise countered. Besides, Earth's policy has always been clear. We seek peaceful relations, not confrontation. The Aegis and Athena are primarily defensive and scientific vessels. Primarily. Arkshan Sci-Fi noted with what might have been amusement. We're not naive. Commander Rivera interjected. Earth has had first contact protocols for centuries before we actually met alien life. Some of those protocols were cautionary. The immediate crisis averted, the group returned to the observation deck. From this vantage point, they could now clearly see both Earth vessels. The Aegis still positioned protectively near the colony, the Athena deploying additional equipment near the star. I notice your vessels bear no obvious weapons, First Voice Elar observed. That's because nearly everything on an Earth ship has dual purposes, Rise explained. The gravitational lensing system that deflected the solar flare can just as easily focus energy into a weapon more powerful than your main cannons, Supreme Commander. The stealth system that hid two massive ships in plain sight can create localized phase shifts that would make your stealth technology obsolete, High Admiral. The hull that absorbed solar radiation can absorb energy weapons fire and repurpose it. You developed all this in just 30 years of FTL capability. Overseer Nex's containment suit pulsed with skepticism. No, Rise answered honestly. We've been developing these technologies for over a century. We achieved practical faster-than-light travel 30 years ago, but we had the theoretical models much earlier. We just didn't rush to announce it to the galaxy. Prudent, Selazin conceded, with newfound respect in her voice. Very prudent indeed. A station officer approached. Primarchs, Captain. The Sanctuary Colony has sent a formal message of gratitude. Their governor requests permission to address you. On the main view screen, the face of an elderly alien appeared. Behind him, citizens of various species could be seen. Many still looking shocked, but all very much alive. To the leadership of the Galactic Concord and to the Earth vessels, we extend our deepest gratitude. Without your intervention, our colony would have been lost. 10,000 lives were saved today. We are particularly indebted to the human vessels that shielded us when we could not shield ourselves. The Sanctuary Colony will remember this day. After the transmission ended, a thoughtful silence fell over the observation deck. It seems we misjudged Earth, Arkshan Sci-Fi finally said, crystalline form shifting in what Rise had come to recognize as a gesture of acknowledgement. Perhaps, Draz rumbled, the humans should have a more prominent seat at tomorrow's summit. I believe that can be arranged. First Voice Elar agreed, all six eyes regarding Reyes with newfound interest. As the alien leaders departed to contact their respective governments, Commander Rivera moved closer to Reyes. "Think they've learned their lesson about underestimating humanity?" she asked quietly. Reyes watched the Aegis and Athena working in perfect coordination, one protecting, one healing. Power and wisdom, strength and compassion. "I'm not sure," she answered honestly. "But they've learned something more important." "What's that, Captain?" Reyes smiled slightly. "That the most impressive ship isn't always the one with the biggest guns." In the viewport, the Earth vessels continued their work, silent sentinels against the darkness of space, their hulls gleaming with reflected starlight as they safeguarded a colony of aliens who, until today, had never given humanity a second thought. And somewhere in the vast chamber behind her, 5 alien leaders were hastily revising their assessment of the newcomers to the galactic stage.